bring up and share, we can get a full understanding of why the Bible has to be applied in its rightful context. Okay. And I'll just start by saying it all started with Abraham. Okay. The Bible all started with Abraham. And what I mean by that is uh, the Most High chose Abraham and Abraham's descendants to be his people, to carry out his will in the earth. Um, and he never changed that. He never picked another a group of people. Um, so let me start reading. This is Genesis 11 and starting at verse 31. And Terah took his son Abraham and his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarah, his son Abraham's wife, and they went up with them out of the Ur of the Chaldees to go to the land of Canaan. And they came to Haran and dwelt there, came to be 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. And then starting verse 12, the Most High said to Abraham, go yourself out of your land, from among your relatives, from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. Okay, so the Most High separated Abraham from his father Terah, because Terah he served many gods. You can read that in Joshua 24, starting at verse 1 down to verse 3, if I'm not wrong. So first and foremost, the Most High chose Abraham. Abraham came from the Ur of the Chaldees, which is modern day Iraq. Okay, the Bible or the people started in the east. Okay, now, and he chose, like I said, he chose Abraham's descendants as well. So, being that the Bible that the Most High chose started in the east, not only did it start in the east, but he also gave them their culture and their customs and their traditions and the way that they should live their lives. Okay, and it started in the east. So, so the customs and the traditions of the Israelites, this is what the Most High gave to the Israelites as their customs and their tradition, and it started in the east. Peace to everybody in chat. So what happened is, when you take the Bible that started with a certain group of people, Abraham's descendants, and it came out of the east, or what they call the so-called Middle East. Let me speak on that for a second. The so-called Middle East was not even a term until the late 1800s, because the Suez Canal is man-made. Look this up if you think that I'm lying. It is 120 miles long. It is owned by Egypt. They started construction on it in 1859, and they ended in 1869, if I'm not wrong. It took them 10 years to dig out that canal. It is man-made. Before that, all that touched. This was done by the Europeans also. But the Suez Canal, or the so-called term, the Middle East, was not a term, did not become a term until the 1800s. And we know that the Bible is over 5,000 years old. So, and they did that on purpose so they can say that the Palestine, or the so-called Middle East, did not touch Egypt and all that. So the Bible, the people, the customs, the traditions, they started in the East, in modern day Iraq. Now, here's where the trouble comes in. When you take the Bible from its original setting, from its original people that it was given to, the customs and traditions, and you take that from the East and you bring it to America, that's where the trouble starts to come in. Let me explain. Deuteronomy 4:2, it says, do not add to the word, Do not take away from the word. It also says that in Revelations 22, I think verses 18 and 19, anyone who adds to these books, there will be a curse added onto you. So here we go. The Bible came over into America by the Protestants. Okay, the Protestants are Europeans that was escaping persecution from the Roman Catholic Church. When they came over here with like the Bishop's Bible, the Tinsdale Bible, the Great Bible, these Protestants had already formed their own opinion, their thoughts, their philosophies on the Bible. Okay, so you've got Europeans who took a book that originated in Africa. They put their thoughts, they put their opinions on it, which was not their, like I said, it's not their culture. It's not their culture. They're not from, I'm sorry, not the Middle East. They're not from Iraq. They're not from the desert. They came over here to America with the Bible. They settled America. Not only did they settle America, then they went over back to Africa, enslaved Israelites, who the Bible was written for, descendants of Abraham, brought them back to America that they took from the Native Americans. And then the Europeans taught the Israelites, they gave them another culture, another language, customs, and traditions of their own. And they taught my ancestors that they were not, they said that they were Hamites. They were not Israelites. So you've got Protestants who brainwashed and taught a book that was not their book. It was not their customs. It was not their traditions. All those laws, statutes, and commandments, it was not theirs. It was the descendants of Abraham. All the prophets, Moses, Miriam, Aaron, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Hezekiah, those are the descendants from Abraham. I hope that what I'm saying here is making sense. So the Protestants took a book and taught a book that they had no business teaching to anyone. Isaiah 49:6, Isaiah 42:6. This is the Most High said that you will be the salt of the earth, and I will give you as a light to the end of the earth, to be a light unto the Gentiles. Well, the Europeans, those Protestants, are Gentiles. They are the descendants of Japheth. So that's the problem. You've got a people who's teaching a book that's not their book to a people who the book belongs to, and you give them other ideas, other ideologies, and philosophies of how to live by the book, and that's where the problem comes in, because you cannot apply the book by a European mindset and thought and opinions, because the book was not written by Europeans. The customs and traditions, they was not given to them by the Most High. So that's why it will not work. So the Bible, it has to be applied in the way that it was written. Malachi 3:6, God says that I am God and I do not change. He said, I do not change. He says, I think it's in Psalms 138:2. He says that I have esteemed my word above my name. So the Most High's word, he said, I have esteemed it greater and higher up than even my own namesake. So this is the problem with the Bible. Even with these people who go to colleges, and well, the majority of the colleges was created by Europeans. So there's trouble again. It was not their book. It's not their book. They was never supposed to teach the book. The Israelites, I'll show you. If you go to Luke 28 and verse 19 and 20, which I will go there. Luke 28. I'm sorry, Matthew 28. Matthew 28, verse 19 and verse 20. Real quick. Therefore go and instruct all nations, immersing them or baptizing them in my name, teaching them to guard all that I have commanded you, and see that I am with you to the end of the world. So the Messiah told Peter, Kepha, James, John, He said, go into all the earth and to teach the world what I have taught you. These are the descendants of Abraham. Yeshua is from the tribe of Judah. He only kept what was written in the scriptures. They only kept the customs and the traditions that was passed down from generations. He told many people who asked him questions about the law and different things, he referred back to Moses. What did Moses write? What did Moses tell you to do? Because he's not changing anything that Moses said, because he was God. He was God, the invisible. He is the image of the invisible God in the flesh. So he's not going to teach or instruct us anything contrary to what Moses said. But as you can see, he told his people, his disciples, to go into all the earth and to teach them these customs, these laws, these traditions that started with Abraham. And he did not change anything, because God does not change. That's the problem. When you start changing up his word and manipulating his word, flipping his word, trying to make it say what you want it to say, that's the problem. That's why he said in Matthew 7:15, he said, beware of false prophets that come in wolves, dressed as sheep in wolves, wolves and sheep's clothing. That's the problem. You cannot take his word and just make it say whatever you wanted to say and wanted to say. You cannot do that. But you see it being done anyway, because people don't fear him. There is no true fear and sincerity and love for the word. But anyhow, the point that I was making is that the Bible, modern day, which is also called Babylon, of the Chaldeans. So when you start flipping and taking away and distorting the word and trying to make it say what you want it to say, well, the Bible says that a curse will be added to you, because you're not supposed to add to it and you're not supposed to take away from it. Peace to everybody in the chat. So that's why it's important that we have to study to show ourselves approved. God does not change, regardless of whoever wants to say what. Just because somebody teaches something different or contrary to his word does not mean that he goes along with that. He does not, because his word doesn't change. And he expects it to be taught in its right time and applied just any old type of way, because it did not start in America. It started with Abraham, because that is the man and his descendants, the Israelites, scattered into all of these nations. Those were the ones who were supposed to go into all the world, according to teach this. And it also says that we would the Israelites would wake up in these lands or whatever. We would come to ourselves, we would understand the book, and we should start to teach the book the way that it's supposed to be taught, the customs and traditions that was given to us. And another thing, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna get off for another reason why I believe that it's crazy, and I think that it is dangerous for people to say that the laws no longer apply, because we don't find nowhere in the book, we don't find Jesus ever saying, coming out of his mouth at all, that these laws have been done away with. Matthew 5:17, he said, think not I've come to destroy the laws or the prophets. He said, I didn't come to destroy anything. So I hope this lesson, this teaching, was edifying on how the Bible has to be applied the way that it was given, and because it was given out of the East. It did not start in Europe. It did not start in the West, over here in America. I hope that someone may have been edified by this. Thank you for your time, those who listened. Peace and